What if the most dangerous weapon in this war is not a missile, a tank, or an artillery shell? What if it is a lie? Right now in Moscow's command centers, Putin's generals are staring at maps covered in bold red arrows. The arrows point deep into Ukrainian territory. The numbers look good. The colors are in Russia's favor. Victory appears to be unfolding exactly as planned, but those maps are fiction. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how that fiction is leading Russia's spring offensive straight into catastrophe, and why Ukraine may have already won a battle Putin does not even know he has lost. The Lyman corridor north of Donetsk. For months, Russia has been funneling tens of thousands of troops into this narrow stretch of land. Moscow believes the Ukrainian defense has finally shattered, that an unstoppable advance is underway, that the gates are open. But something is wrong, and it is something the maps cannot show. There is no defensive line waiting for them in those forests, no Ukrainian troops scrambling to hold a crumbling position. Russian tanks are not breaking through a line. They are being deliberately pulled into one of the most methodically designed kill zones of this entire war. Here is how Ukraine is doing it, and it is nothing like anything Russia is prepared for. Forget Soviet-style artillery preparations. Forget massive tank formations charging across open ground. Ukraine's new doctrine is built on silence, speed, and surgical precision. Small infiltration units, sometimes just 5 to 10 soldiers, are slipping through forest lines and ruined villages under the cover of darkness. Armed with night vision and connected in real time to drone feeds, these teams hunt command posts, feed artillery coordinates, and vanish before Russian forces even know they were there. They do not need to hold ground. They need to make the ground unlivable for anyone else. But here is where things get even more alarming for the Kremlin. The Russian army isn't just losing on the battlefield, it's lying to itself about it. On the Zaporizhzhia front, senior Russian staff officers traveled to inspect a frontline brigade. The brigade commander unrolled a map. Territorial gains, captured villages, fortified positions. It looked like progress. So before signing off, those officers did something unusual. They sent up a reconnaissance drone to see the ground for themselves. What they saw had nothing to do with the map. The claimed positions didn't exist. The captured villages were still under Ukrainian control. The units weren't where they were supposed to be. The victory was entirely on paper. This isn't an isolated incident. It's a system-wide virus. In authoritarian militaries, failure gets punished, so failure gets hidden. Hidden failures compound into catastrophes that no one at the top ever sees coming until it's too late. And that catastrophe is already arriving in the south. Russia's 2026 spring plan was built around Zaporizhzhia. A massive breakthrough from the Orikhiv axis pushed toward the city and encircled its industrial core. Months of logistical buildup followed, and thousands of troops were staged for the offensive. Ukraine did not wait for the attack to start. They struck the plan before it could begin. In recent days, Ukrainian forces quietly recaptured Zaporizhzhia, established control in Rib, and, in the most critical move, advanced to within 2 kilometers of Russia's main supply route near Huliaipol. This put that route within effective range. Now here is the military reality that changes everything. You do not have to physically block a supply route to cut it off. You just have to bring it within artillery range, within drone range. When you can see every convoy moving down that road, every truck and every fuel tanker, they become targets. And when supplies cannot move, an army does not eat, cannot reload, and cannot evacuate its wounded. Russia's response revealed exactly how serious this is. In a state of panic, the Russian command began pulling Pacific Fleet Marine brigades from entirely different regions of the country, rushing them south to hold the line. Reserve regiments that had not been seen at the front since August 2025 suddenly appeared in defensive trenches. Think about what that means. The elite units Russia spent months training for its spring offensive in the east are now being burned up just trying to survive in the south. The attacking army has become a defending army, and it does not even fully know it yet. But the situation behind the front lines tells an even darker story. On March 16th and 17th, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces launched a sweeping wave of long-range drone strikes across Russia's entire logistical network. These weren't random attacks. Every target was chosen to blind, deafen, and immobilize. An electronic warfare station at Kherson Airfield in Sevastopol was destroyed. That means Russian airspace in that region is now wide open to Ukrainian drones. A Tor M2U air defense system in Bryansk, worth billions of rubles, was destroyed. A Bastion coastal missile system in occupied Crimea was struck. Fuel depots in Melitopol were turned into fireballs. Ammunition depots in Stepnov and Terpinia were blown up. A drone operator training center in the Kherson region was eliminated along with the personnel inside. None of these targets were frontline trenches. Ukraine isn't fighting the army. It's dismantling the machine that keeps the army alive. A T-90 tank with no ammunition is 46 tons of useless metal. A convoy with no fuel is just a line of coffins on a road. A commander whose headquarters has been destroyed is a mute man screaming orders no one can hear. Strike the repair depot instead of the tank, and every breakdown on the front line becomes a retreat of hundreds of kilometers. This is the new logic of this war, and Russia has not adapted to it. Gerasimov is still feeding tank columns into open terrain, still applying breakthrough tactics designed in the era of World War II, and the numbers expose exactly what that costs. Over a nearly 2-year stretch from February 2024 to January 2026, in what has been the war's most intense phase, Russian forces advanced an average of just 70 meters per day along the Avdiivka to Pokrovsk axis. 70 meters, in exchange for tens of thousands of casualties and hundreds of billions in destroyed equipment. Since the war began, Russia has seized just an additional 1.5% of Ukraine's total territory. But the number that should terrify Moscow most is not on any map. In January 2026, Russia crossed a threshold it cannot uncross. For the first time in this war, the monthly casualty rate officially exceeded the recruitment rate. That month, 30,618 soldiers were killed or seriously wounded. New recruits, 22,000. The army is now losing more people than it can replace, every single month. To keep the numbers up, Russia has offered astronomical signing bonuses, 15 to 20 times what they paid at the start of the war. 2 trillion rubles vanished in bonus payments alone in the first half of 2025. But now even those regions have run out of money. In places like Samara and Tatarstan, recruitment bonuses were slashed from 3.6 million rubles down to 400,000 almost overnight. And the men accepting those payments are not young soldiers full of ideology. The age group with the highest mortality rate on Russia's front lines in 2025 is between 46 and 52 years old. Men with no other options, while Moscow's elite youth sit in cafes untouched by any of this. When his own population was not enough, Putin started importing soldiers, over 18,000 foreign nationals from 128 countries, lured with promises of jobs or citizenship, handed weapons, and sent to die. And still, it is not enough. Military analysts estimate that over 70,000 Russian soldiers have deserted, disobeyed orders, or gone into hiding. That is 10% of deployed forces, 1 in 10 soldiers refusing to fight, an army bleeding faster than it can refill, supply lines that can be watched from the sky and struck at will, generals feeding their commanders false victories while those lies climb all the way to Putin, and a spring offensive that existed as a bold plan on paper is now being quietly dismantled before it ever truly starts. This is where Russia stands in March 2026. The maps in the Kremlin still show those bold red arrows. The generals still present progress. But somewhere in the forests north of Donetsk, Russian tanks are advancing deeper into silence, and that silence is not retreat. It is a trap closing behind them. Ukraine did not win this with a massive counterattack. It won it with patience, precision, and the understanding that you do not have to destroy your enemy's army. You just have to make it destroy itself. The spring offensive is not coming. It is already ending, and most of the world has not noticed yet. If this analysis gave you a new way of seeing what's really happening in this war, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers exactly why Russia's command structure has become its own worst enemy.